Curt Schilling was fired by ESPN. I'll read you the brief statement. ESPN is an inclusive company. Curt Schilling has been advised that his conduct was unacceptable and his employment with ESPN has been terminated. And Curt joins us now. Curt, how are you?
I'm fired.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Did you expect it at some point to be fired?
You know what? No, not this. Not when this happened. No, well, let's put it this way. I didn't until I got called they made me drive 2 hours to meet with an HR person, so I assumed that was kind of the slow walk to the guillotine. So I actually didn't bring my work clothes to work that day. Kind of figured I knew what was coming, but they called me and said they wanted to hear my side of the story, and I was like, "Wait, what? Why would there be multiple sides to this story?" So, I think the only irony in all this for me is that a company that is, outwardly bigoted and intolerant is calling itself inclusive, and and I don't have to tell you what goes on around there. But I'm sad that it ended because of the people I worked with. But other than that, I guess it was kind of meant to be.
But explain that, what you're talking about with ESPN of being racist outwardly.
Well, so they are very, very comfortable. So they send out memos, and again, I'm not going to tell you anything you don't know. They send out memos about, hey, listen, we want our sports people and our talent to stick to sports and stay away from politics and all the other stuff. And the next day, Stephen A. Smith tells the world that Robert Griffin can't play quarterback for the Redskins because he's black, not because he sucks, was because he sucked. And then you've got Levitard, and you've got Tony Kornheiser comparing the Tea Party to ISIS. And so what I think the memo meant to say was, if you're not liberal and you're not a Democrat, do not stray from sports. So they did that and happened again. And I kept trying to explain to them, listen, I get it to some extent, but I'm not doing this openly and outwardly anymore. This is something I'm commenting on, and it just got to be, well, the other piece that really jumped out at me was we would talk in, the green room where everybody hangs out, and it's the ESPN version of the locker room. A lot of times people would be like, they'd come up to me and whisper, "Hey man, I'm with you. I'm a Republican," as if we were like the secret card carrying members of some group that couldn't be that those who shall not be named. But the inclusiveness is inclusive as long as you're pointing in the same direction they are. Otherwise, it's a problem.
Could you not help yourself though? I mean,
sharing
yourself what?
Sharing
yourself though. That knowing what their tone was. Well,
I help myself what, Dan? What, tell me what you think I did that should have gotten me fired, that should have pissed them off.
Well, I think that you were probably on double secret probation, whether you knew it or not, and you knew.
No, always.
Yeah, so you knew where this could head, right?
So tell me, but then what did I do, in your opinion, that I shouldn't have done? That was a fireable offense in your not in your opinion, but in the grand scheme of this whole thing. If you're ESPN.
I think it was you had opinions, but in maybe the description of your opinions is probably what they couldn't tolerate any longer, and the reaction to it. In the reaction to it, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's not. I got fired for things people thought I said or things people perceived I was, none of which was true. But that's the Disney is 100% about perception.
But they knew, but you knew how it was being received, and you had to have that balance of, do I want to do this? Can I do this? And can I still have my job? Right?
Okay. Hold on a second. How long have you known me?
20. Okay, 20 some years.
Have you ever known me to sit back and say, well, wait, before I say this, let me measure it out and make sure that it will be received in the way it should be received, and that nobody's toes will get stepped. I'm not a measured speaker. I never have been. I think, and I was told one of the reasons they hired me is that they liked the fact that I was opinionated and that I spoke my opinion, whether it went against the grain or not. And that was the case right up until I started speaking an opinion they didn't agree with.
But were they talking politics voice, or the fact that you would speak your mind when it came to baseball?
Well, obviously they weren't talking politics, because I got fired for talking it. But that wasn't, that was, again, I was talking it on my Facebook page that was for people that are quote unquote friending me on Facebook. This wasn't public. It's just, and part of this is absolutely not I'm not trying to sound like a victim, but somebody was out to make sure that everybody saw the thing that I posted. And, this one really did, and people might laugh about this. This one really did catch me by surprise in the sense that if you look at the meme that I reposted, which you can't unsee when you see it, but I made a comment about the functionality of men's and women's restrooms. I didn't comment about transgender. I don't care. I've never cared. As long as you're not sleeping with my wife, I don't care who you sleep with. So, I mean, that that became something, like the other two situations, became way more than it ever was. And, I own it. I said it, or whatever I did say, but I didn't do and say the things that they thought I did. And you know how I know that, Dan, is I don't have a racist bone in my body. I never have. At this age, given where I've been and what I've done, if I did, I think it would be a public thing. The other thing is I usually, for me anyway, people that are actually racist or homophobic actually will admit that they are racist and homophobic by the things that they say and do. I've never. My son is a big part of that community. My youngest son. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me.
What do you mean part of that community?
He is actively involved in the LGBT community, and it's a very important thing to him. And, I've had kids that are transgender. I've had kids of all sexual preferences at 15, 16, 17, and now I don't care. They're good kids. I've never, ever cared. And anybody that knows me knows that. And I guess what I would tell you is when you're in a place where people are calling you things you are not, that the wires got crossed really badly somewhere. So, and at the end of the day, I'm lucky and I'm blessed in the sense that the job I had, listen, I was making $2.5 million a year. The job I had I didn't have to have it to put food on the table and the roof over my family's head, because maybe I act differently if that's the case.
Yeah.
But I'm at a place in time in my life where, I'm sick and tired of looking at people that really, honestly, I believe are spineless, not being able to be who they are, or not spineless. That's not the right word, but they're not in a position to speak their mind because they're afraid of the vocal minority, and that's not me, and that never will be me.
Would you rather cover politics or baseball?
Yes. Yes, and that's what's going to happen. That's where I'm going to end up. Based on the discussions and the offers that I've been kind of sifting through right now, I'm going to end up doing sports because I love baseball. I love hockey. I love talking about sports. I think I can offer insight into baseball and pitching that few people can. I love doing that, but I don't want to be held to that. I want to talk about stuff that moves the needle. And I think that in my life I've done a lot and put a lot of effort into getting to understand the world we live in. And I have my opinion on things, and I like to talk about those things. And I think I'm going to end up in a format that will allow that to happen.
Are you going to sue ESPN?
You know what? I'm keeping those cards to the vest right now. There's certainly, I thought that the day, and if you think about this, let's go back. And by the irony of all ironies, Dan, I walked out of the house saying on TV, I heard on CNN there's getting ready to be a show called Genocide by ISIS, how ISIS has become the Nazi party of our era. And I as horrifying as that is, I chuckled a little bit thinking, this all started because of a meme that I tweeted out comparing extremist to the Nazi party, which is 100% today still a valid comparison. ESPN disavows themselves of that and says, in no way, shape, or form do we believe what he did and what he said. And my response was, basically, ESPN's calling me a racist. Because if you remove the word extremist from that post, it's incredibly racist. But that was the only word that mattered.
See, the shame for me is how good you were on Sunday Night Baseball.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
But,
I appreciate that.
But I feel like there's part of you that, whether you want to or you just can't or you didn't care, that you couldn't. Like, you couldn't just do your job. I don't need to know Chris Berman's politics, or I don't need to know Carl Ravage's politics.
Right, well, that's fine. You don't have that's absolutely understandable. But that's not who I am. I'm not going to be who you want me to be.
But but Curt, you did know going into the mothership what the mothership was all about. No idea, none, zero. Really?
Been involved with, had no idea, none. That it was like, obviously every company leans one way or the other. But that's not something I've ever looked at as a prerequisite for taking a job. I didn't know that was going to be an integral part of the day-to-day, number one. And number two, when I got into this job, I wasn't as politically motivated as I am now. Mm-hmm. I'm sick and tired of where I live becoming what it's becoming. And a lot of it to me is apathy. People don't give People don't care.
Have you ever thought about, what if you and Keith Oberman did a show together? Baseball and politics.
You know what? Seriously? I wanted to punch him in the larynx from the day I heard him speak for the first time. And, he and I are clearly opposites, but like a lot of the things that I make a mistake in life, everybody that's ever spoken to me said he and I would have had the best time in the world together, because he loves sports, he's engaging, he's entertaining, he likes to debate. Yeah, I mean, you couldn't find two people farther apart, and so I don't know.
That would make for a good show.
Somebody at ESPN said, I wish we would have thought of this before we fired him, because that would have been funny. And I was like, okay, sure, that would have been funny. That would have been, to me, I'm looking at Jim Everett, like 2.0. But, yeah, okay.
Did you try to latch on with Fox Baseball?
I did not. No. Somebody that I work with made a huge mistake seeking, went there asking if they had a position for me, which was not what I wanted to do, and not what I will do.
But is Fox News a possibility for you?
I think everything except Fox Sports is and ESPN is a possibility. There's a lot. Like I said, I want to be in sports. I want to be involved in sports. I'm kind of doing some things on my own as well. But I want to be able to talk to people about things that move the needle and things that matter. I think that we're ready to hand off to my kids is not one that I'm proud of, and we need to fix as much as we can while we have the time.
Before I let you go, just for the record, explain the transgender bathroom access and that it was posted then deleted. It
was never deleted. It was never deleted. It was never public.
Okay.
It's still on my Facebook page.
Okay. But, explain your point then, to be fair to you.
Right.
Okay,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. I want you to explain.
No, somebody had posted a picture of, I don't even think this gentleman is transgender. I think he was a Mardi Gras guy, because it's a picture you can never unsee. Once you see it, it burns your eyes. But it was a comment around, this guy can go to the bathroom and the law says yada yada. Basically trying to promote transgender people as sexually deviant, pedophile, whatever. And my comment, I didn't post it. I responded to it. My response to the post was, listen, I don't know. You are what you're born to be. If you're a man, you're born a man, and if you're a woman, you're born a woman. That we have to have legislation to tell us where we can pee now is pathetic. It's pathetic. It's embarrassing. And that was my comment on the entire subject. And that turned into I'm transphobic. So, and I still think I would say the same thing today. It's embarrassing. It's a joke that we believe that we need government to step in. And let's be very clear. The North Carolina bill, the transgender bathroom thing, was a very small part of it. But I wasn't even commenting on the bill. I was commenting on I'm not the hypocrite that a Bruce Springsteen or a Bryan Adams is. I actually just was commenting on that aspect of it. And I thought it was pathetic that we needed our government involved in it. These guys are going out. Bruce Springsteen's going to boycott North Carolina, right? So he's never going to perform in Italy again because same-sex marriage is against the law there, right? Or the Middle East where Sony works. Sony's his label. They murder you for being gay. They murder you for being transgender in the Middle East. So he's got a very limited avenue to perform anywhere now, I assume, if that's what he's going to do from a rules perspective. But he won't, because he doesn't care, because it's like everybody else in Hollywood, they're full of when it comes time to actually make it different. Full of poop, sorry.
Yeah.
Full of poop. They're full of poop. And, 2 weeks ago, George Clooney comes out and rails on money in politics right after he has a, $200,000 plate dinner? Okay.
The fundraiser for Hillary?
Right.
Yeah.
And then he comes out and says, money in politics is the worst. It's like, okay, whatever. Sure.
Why do you think Barkley gets away with what he says?
Because he doesn't care. I think that people, listen, I'll actually make it easy. If you have a company and you're going to hire Charles Barkley to be an analyst in your company, are you going to do so with restrictions on what he can and can't say? Because he's not taking the job, right?
Well, it's like when the mothership hired Rush Limbaugh. I said, you can't hire him, and then he's Rush Limbaugh, and then you fire him for being Rush Limbaugh.
Right, exactly. But that's what they want to do. The world, they want the cake, and they want to eat it too. And it's just not going to work that way anymore. I think a lot of people are tired. I think there's just fatigue in watching what this nation is doing, and I think sports is the place to have a lot of those conversations, because it intersects our way of life in every possible way, shape, and form, in a good way and in a bad way. It represents the best and worst. I mean, civil rights was part of. I mean, look at baseball. You had the most bigoted, racist human beings in the world running teams for the first half of this century. Sports is absolutely, in my opinion, a lot of a reflection of our society. And I think you're a great example. I mean, you move away from there. Everything you talk mostly sports, but there's people that want to talk about other stuff, and it does involve sports, but it's tangible.
Well, I find that sports allows us to talk about a lot of things in society that
Absolutely.
we're afraid to talk about in society. So
right.
we use sports as almost the yep. umbrella metaphor yep. landing spot here. But hey, yep. I'm short on time.
Wait, let me ask you one question. Was it taboo to talk about politics when you worked there?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that hasn't changed. Okay.
Yeah, we were told we were not allowed to talk politics or endorse a candidate. We weren't allowed to be involved in anything,
even behind the scenes in the hallways.
There weren't like hall monitors there watching or listening.
Right.
I will say this: in all those years I worked with Oberman, we didn't talk politics. It wasn't freely discussed. I think the most political moment was when Keith gave me Winston Churchill's book, The Last Line. I think that was about as political as we got back then. So nobody confiscated it, though. But hey, thanks.
Not yet.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Tell your wife I said hello. Hope things are
I will, Dan.
Good and you're healthy. I know you.
Take care. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you, Curt.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.